Hello and welcome back to my channel. Jacob Payton here, and I'm going to talk about My Best Friend's Exorcism by Grady Hendrix, which follows Abby and Gretchen, two teenagers in Charleston, South Carolina, during the 1980s. I absolutely love this book. It was one of the few books, I think, especially in horror, that I had to put down at certain points just because it made me so angry the way that Abby is treated throughout this book. And that's mostly because it's so believable and resonates pretty clearly with me. It's just some stuff that I was able to connect with as a reader who, while I didn't grow up in Charleston, I did grow up in the South, in the rural South, and the way I think Grady Hendrix talks about economic status and class and the way that plays out in religion as well in Southern communities is 110% spot on. There is definitely like a lot of social commentary in this book, but it's very, I think, relatable social commentary for anyone that has lived in the South for any number of years. You can definitely pick up on a lot of that. I love this book. I'm very excited to see the movie, which comes out, I think, September 30th. Hopefully it's going to be streaming. I imagine it'll at least be for rent on Amazon Prime. I don't know if it's going to be streaming on any platforms yet. But I guess I'll find that out on September 30th like everybody else. And yeah, I love this book. I also love the whole 80s aesthetic. Even though I wasn't around, obviously, during the 80s, I wasn't born until the 90s. I don't know, I've always I liked that aesthetic. Same with like the early 90s aesthetic. So I found that really enjoyable. And yeah, I don't know, a lot of the way things played out in this book was very believable for a book that is about demonic possession. I also liked the way Grady Hendrix kind of showed Gretchen's possession, because I felt that it wasn't over the top in the way that like people were floating and all this stuff was happening right off the bat, kind of like in The Exorcist. It was very, it's kind of like a slow burn. Basically, Abby and Gretchen go to their friend Margaret's lake house where they try LSD for the first time. And Gretchen disappears for a while, I think like a whole day, and when she is found or stumbles in the next morning, her whole personality is dramatically shifted. Or at least she starts to act out in weird ways that only Abby is able to really pick up on, since Abby is her best friend. Everyone else just kind of writes off this behavior as minor teenage rebellion or teenage weirdness. And when Abby brings it up to the Langs, Gretchen's parents, they tend to blame Abby for the events, especially when they discover that drugs are involved. Since Abby is from a lower economic background, obviously she is to blame for anything their daughter and her friends may have gotten up to drugs and partying wise, and they just kind of write her off as a bad influence, as does the school and the rest of the community. And yeah, it falls to Abby to try to save Gretchen from this demon, essentially. And I honestly, like I said, like I did put the book down a couple times, but I absolutely love this book. I think it is a really fun read. It definitely isn't like the in-your-face, people dying left and right type of horror that is like The Exorcist, or even my last review, Son of the Endless Night by John Ferris, where, you know, the demon was kind of almost omnipresent in a way and showing up in people's lives and doing all this stuff. I mean, it very much in this book is attached to Gretchen, and just kind of slowly alters her behavior over time to make her worse and worse. And Abby's kind of the only one throughout the book that we see that's able to like kind of get her to push through what the demon is doing, because Essentially, her parents really don't pay attention to her, and at least not the way a friend does. And I think that's, I don't know everyone's background, but I think that's pretty similar, especially in a lot of like teenage stuff, where they're just kind of like, all right, your teenager's eating and breathing, so they're probably fine, and anything else we can write off on hormones at the time and just not pay attention to it. I'm really excited to see what they decide to do with the movie. I think it's probably gonna be pretty accurate to the book. So that's gonna be exciting because while the book isn't like super gory and over the top, I do think it's gonna be pretty exciting on the screen, just like it was reading. Because most of it is just Abby trying to get people to believe her that something very wrong is happening with Gretchen. And I really enjoyed that. I mean, really, it's not only like a social commentary, it's very much a story of friendship. And one that I really enjoyed. I like the way that Grady Hendrix kind of plays with genre and tropes. If you haven't read any Grady Hendrix books, I can't recommend My Best Friend's Exorcism enough. Another book I really liked by him was Southern Book Club's Guide to Vampire Slaying, and I probably got the title wrong, but that's also definitely worth checking out. Yeah, I don't want to spoil the book for you, so I won't give away too many of the major events other than I guess what I already kind of have. Well, no, I really haven't given anything away. I take that back. I haven't given anything away. There's still a lot of major pivotal events in this book. And I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's 110% worth reading. If you haven't read Grady Hendrix, this is a great book to start with. If you're looking for a book on demonic possession that isn't, super over the top or super gory, and one that you only have to follow like a handful of characters, and also one that isn't super like centered around Catholicism, I think that's fun because we don't really get that much. At least I don't think. A lot of the books and stuff that I've picked up and honestly put down in that center around demonic possession, they tend to have priests as main characters. And that's not bad, but it always kind of centers around the priests, like a trial of faith type of thing, as they try to deal with that, and that kind of gets old after a while. I mean, I'm sure there is an audience for that. I just am not that audience. But I do love kids on bikes type stuff. I like teenagers fighting monsters, and that's essentially what this book was. And I really enjoyed that. So yeah, once again, I cannot recommend this book enough. I'm very excited to see the movie. And if you've read My Best Friend's Exorcism or any other books by Grady Hendrix, and you liked it or didn't like it, please let me know in the comments below. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.